Hey, everybody. This is a repost from a couple weeks ago when we talked about food, our first initiation into food, into the differences between proteins, carbs, where does fruit fit, where do potatoes fit, what are carbs, and fats. And then we're also going to talk about, I also talked a little bit about blood sugar and why it's so important to maintain your blood sugar and what creates diabetes and hormone disruption on the other side when we don't do that properly. So let's get started. What is a protein? All right, guys, what's a protein? Oh, I can't even spell today. That's awesome. So, protein, usually from an animal source, right? So fish and chicken and beef and venison, if you're one of those people, that's a primary thing, right? Eggs, cheese, that's your dairy source, but cheese also contains some carbs. So that's like a mixed bag right there, right? So generally animal sources. There are other sources like legumes, right? It's also a combo source of carbs. So and we'll talk about those in the future. So, legumes. What is a carbohydrate? There are two different types of carbs. There are the non-starchy carbs, right? These are the carbs. Oops, I can't not spell today. Non-starchy. These are all the veggies that you may or may not want to be eating. So we're talking about lettuces and cauliflower and broccoli and zucchini and summer squashes. Those are your non-starchy vegetables. Your starchy vegetables are the ones that you really want to eat a ton of, right? We've got sweet potatoes, we've got regular potatoes, we've got winter squash like acorn or butternut, right? Those are your starchy carbs. The non-starchy ones are basically going to be unlimited. Like you can pretty much have as much of that as you want. In the beginning, your starchy carbs are going to be one serving per day at about the size of your fist, so about a third to a half a cup. And that's where we're going to start with that. Okay? Um, we're also going to be dairy free and gluten free. So another type of carb under this starchy space are your grains. This is where those belong. And that includes corn. Corn is not a vegetable, it is a grain. It includes wheat and barley and rye. Those are all gluten containing grains, but it includes rice, it includes oats, which can be non quinoa, right? Those are your non gluten containing grains. And those are same, right? About a third of a cup is about as high as you want to go, a quarter to a third, especially right here in the beginning. And if you're going to do sweet potatoes or something, we're not going to do grains on the same meal. All right. So starchy is starchy. All right. Hopefully that makes sense to you. All right. Let's move on to fats. Healthy fats. Healthy fats are your nuts and seeds and oils and avocado. So let's talk about fat, right? We're going to get some fat in our animal protein. And then nuts and seeds, which you really want to watch out for your portions here because it's very easy. They're high in calories because they have more calories per gram. So 1 gram of protein and 1 gram of carb have 4 calories. Fats have 9. So these are higher in calories, oils. So like your olive oil, coconut oil, right? Those kind of oils. Cooking, right? Grape seed. So some good cooking oils. Any kind of your nut oil, walnut oil, pecan oil. So nut oils, nut butters. All right, so those are fat-containing stuff. They're very yummy, full of flavor, also much higher in calories. So you have to be careful, again, with that portion thing. But they do slow down blood sugar release. So go ahead and move into that. Let's talk about blood sugar. When we eat something like, I'm going to bring out oatmeal as the scapegoat here today, because it has about 40 grams of carbs. And remember that this is a starchy type of carb and it is a grain. And what we tend to do here in America is we add some berries. Fruit is also a carb, just so you know. So we add some berries. We might even put a banana on there, right? And so now what we're doing, this is just more and more carbs. We're just adding carbs to carbs. So what happens when this gets into your system is this is blood sugar on this side, right? Which we may want to call it BS, but it's blood glucose. And this is time. And what ends up happening when we do this at 8 o'clock in the morning, by 10:30, about 2 hours, if you do this at 8 a.m., you crash and burn and crave. And then what happens? You run and you get yourself a granola. So if this is oatmeal, right? This is going to be granola, your granola bar in the morning. And then you're going to have a sandwich at lunch with one piece of lunch meat or something, right? So then you've had 2 pieces of bread. And you wonder why at 2:30 in the afternoon to 4, you crash and burn because you've been doing this all day long. Okay? And when our blood sugar is up here all the time, we also have to have more insulin. Insulin is what drives blood sugar into your cells. The only problem is when it's super high like this all the time, it also causes increased inflammation. And ladies, it will take your estrogen storage, which happens in our favorite places, all of our fat, we store estrogen, and turns it into testosterone, which if this happens and you're young enough, this can yield some PCOS. So this is polycystic ovarian syndrome. High testosterone, high insulin, uncontrolled blood sugar is really the root cause of polycystic ovarian syndrome. For men, okay, this is a little racy, but small balls and big boobs, okay? So for men, what ends up happening when their insulin is high, their testosterone shifts to estrogen production. So their parts don't work right and they start growing things that they don't want to grow, just like we start growing hair in places we probably don't want it to grow. And our ovaries dysfunction all over the place. So this is the whole jam about keeping your blood sugar even. So what does it need to look like besides this mess, right? Because this isn't working. 70% of America is overweight and obese because this is the way we eat. This is not a mystery, and this is not some sort of deficiency or genetic tendency. This is all about our lifestyle. Not to be insensitive, just saying. This is physiology, this is how it works. So what do? We don't do that because that's not working for 70% of Americans, right? What does work, let's draw it again. What does work, it's time, is when we have a fat, a protein, fat, and a carb together. So we've got protein, fat, carb. And when we can eat them in packets or blocks, if you will, kind of a la Zone a long time ago, if we can eat them in packets of 7, 3, and 10, When you look on a nutrition label, you see how many carbs, you see your fat, you see your protein. If it looks similar to this, you're probably going to have a nice, even blood sugar that gently drops off after about 4 hours. And that's what we're looking for. So that when you eat at 8, by noon-ish, 11-ish, right? 11, 11:30, right? You're starting to get hungry, but instead of that crash, right? We crashed before, crash and crave, and you're not going to make a good decision down here because you're going to be anxious, you're going to be depressed, you're not going to feel good from going up so high. When that happens, right, you're not going to make a great decision. Here, you can plan out, yep, you know what, around 11, 11:30, I know it's going to be time to eat, so I can eat my protein, fat, and carb that I planned and have a much more even day, not only in your blood sugar, but your brain's ability to think through things, all the way through things. And you will also have that energy, like I said, and your blood sugar will start to even out. And you won't have that whole insulin hormone disruption piece that happens when our insulin goes high. And your inflammation comes down. So then your weight can come down and your joints can have less inflammation and you can have less autoimmune disorder. So that's the key, really. It's all about what we're eating and how we're combining our foods together in order to get a healthier body. So let's give this a try for now, right? Like this is the beginning of starting some changes on your food. And in the group, we can certainly, we can always have more conversation about this. And this will give you some basics to go on. So I hope that's helpful. And just remember that the 7-3-10 rule is really, really key to looking at your nutrition labels because that's how you're going to be able to start combining things in a better way. One more thing, I'll do this really quick. A snack, when we look at 7, 3, 10, a snack is probably going to be times 2, right? So it's going to look like 14, 6, and 20-ish. A meal for women is probably going to look like times 3. It's going to be 21, 9, and I would keep it less than 30. All right, for good absorption and more balance. So that's really where we can go with things. And now when you start looking at nutrition labels, they're going to make more sense. So when you look at a certain protein bar, you're going to see that there's not always a lot of protein there. You may see a lot more carbs than protein, and you'll understand why those bars may not work good for you, or why I'm eating a bar, I don't understand why I'm gaining weight. Maybe because it's all carb and your insulin is running high and it's not really doing the job that you wanted it to do. So there's your basics of nutrition and keeping your blood sugar even and keeping your hormones and energy even through the day. This is it. This is the key. This is the basis. This is the foundation of good eating. So thanks a lot, y'all. See you later. Bye.